The night it all shifted, I noticed something odd. 2 forks in the sink. I hadn't eaten with her. Hadn't eaten with anyone. And I sure as hell didn't use 2 forks. I stood there for a good minute, just staring at them. One still had sauce on the prongs. Not mine. I'd made frozen chicken strips and eaten them straight from the baking sheet like the washed-up shell of a man I've apparently become. This fork had pesto, and I knew we didn't have pesto. I opened the fridge. Nothing green. Opened the pantry. No pasta. Nothing even close. And yet sauce. Fresh. Still soft on the metal like someone had only rinsed it halfway. I turned around slowly, like the kitchen might answer me if I just gave it time. She wasn't home yet. Said she'd be working late again. Another design pitch. She'd mumbled that morning while texting someone across the kitchen island. I asked who. She said just work people. I never get names anymore. Just vague categories. The TV was still on from earlier, low volume. Some crime show playing out in the background. A detective standing in someone's apartment, asking about a missing husband. I muted it. The irony was starting to feel personal. Then I checked the trash. I don't know why. Maybe I was hoping to find an empty pesto jar and reassure myself I was just being paranoid. There wasn't a jar, but there was a receipt, tucked between a paper towel and the little foil top of a wine bottle. 2 entrees. 2 glasses of wine. 1 tiramisu. Dinner for 2 at Marlowe's, a place she used to say was too fancy to waste on a weeknight. It was a Tuesday. She hadn't said anything about dinner plans, or clients, or even Marlowe's. She'd texted me around 6:48 p.m. Work running late. Eat without me. Love you. That was it. I reread it. I still had it. I stared at that message and then stared at the receipt in my hand. It was time-stamped 6:37 p.m. So, she texted me she was working late, while she was sitting at a candlelit table with someone else. I didn't scream. Didn't break anything. I just stood in that dim kitchen, holding a piece of trash like it was evidence in my own murder case. And then I did something so stupid I hate myself for it. I cleaned the fork. Not both. Just one. The one she used. Like some sad, confused husband trying to erase a clue even Sherlock would ignore. And that's when I knew. This wasn't a one-night slip. This was a pattern. A second life. And I had no idea how far it went. But I was going to find out. Not by asking. Not by fighting. By watching. Quietly. Closely. Because if she thought I was blind, she was about to find out just how sharp I can see when I finally decide to open my eyes. The morning after the pesto incident, she made me coffee. That should have been my second clue. She never makes coffee unless she's guilty, bored, or hiding something. I stood in the hallway and just watched her stir oat milk into the mug she handed me like she hadn't just lied to my face the night before. She even hummed. Who hums on a Wednesday morning? I wanted to ask right then. About the dinner receipt. About the second fork. About the wine cork I found near the recycling bin. But I didn't. Because I'm weak. Because I've learned that if you confront someone too early, they don't confess. They get smarter. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Don't forget to take the recycling out." I smiled. She smiled. It felt fake. So that afternoon, while she was heading to a client lunch, I did something I'd never done in 10 years of marriage. I snooped. Not just a casual glance at her phone. I dug. I used everything I could think of. Her iPad, which she hadn't logged out of. Our shared Amazon account. Google timeline. Even the Wi-Fi router logs. I was a man possessed. Not angry, just hollow. And then I found something weird. Her Uber account was clean. Too clean. No recent rides. No trips to Marlowe's. No trips anywhere in the past 2 weeks. That didn't add up. She hates driving at night. Always calls for a ride if it's past 7 p.m. So how did she get there? I checked our ring cam. The one by the garage that never gets used, unless you're trying not to be seen. I opened the timeline. There it was. 8:03 p.m. the night before. A pair of headlights. A car I didn't recognize. It pulled up quietly. Parked. Engine running. She came out wearing that rust-colored dress I always said made her look like autumn in New York. She didn't pause. Didn't hesitate. Just got in the front passenger seat, laughing at something on her phone. The car drove off seconds later. No wave goodbye. No looking back. No one else was visible in the driver's seat. But it wasn't an Uber. I replayed it 5 times. Zoomed. Enhanced. Like I was in some CSI episode. There was no visible Uber sticker. No Lyft badge. And the driver, whoever it was, knew to park away from the main cameras. I checked the footage from when she got home. Nothing. She came in through the side gate. Avoided the porch cam entirely. The only hint she'd returned was the faint click of the back door and the fridge light flicking on at 12:41 a.m. She'd eaten something. Probably the leftover tiramisu. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed beside her, listening to her breathe like nothing was wrong. I wanted to ask her who was driving. I wanted to say, "Hey, where's Lenny the plant?" Or, "Funny how your Uber hasn't logged a ride since last month." But all I did was nod when she rolled over and mumbled, "Love you." I didn't say it back, because I wasn't sure if she meant it, or if she'd said the same thing to someone else earlier that night. The next day, I started looking into him. Not because I knew who he was, but because I had a suspicion, a face, a name she had mentioned once, casually, 2 months ago. My new project lead is funny. Total night owl. Works better after 9 p.m. That line had sounded innocent at the time. Now it sounded like a confession disguised as a compliment. His name was Clark. Clark with an E. Who the hell even spells it that way? I searched him online. Found his LinkedIn. His photo. And there, buried in the details, was the first truly sickening thing I'd seen yet. Clark drove a charcoal gray Lexus RX 350. Just like the one that picked her up Tuesday night. The day I decided to test her, I didn't plan it. It just happened. I woke up nauseous from everything I'd discovered the night before. The missing Uber logs, the backgate trick, the mysterious Lexus. My chest felt tight, like I was waiting for a train I knew was going to hit me, but couldn't move out of the way. And all morning, I kept thinking about how easily she lied. How many nights had she walked in with that same smirk, the one I used to find cute? Now it made my stomach turn. We had brunch plans with her cousin Delia. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to see anyone. But I went because pretending was safer than admitting I knew. And here's the thing about pretending. It gives you room to set traps. At the end of the meal, while she went to say goodbye to Delia, I left my wallet on the table. On purpose. It wasn't subtle. It was thick, brown leather. The one she got me for our anniversary 2 years ago, back when she still gave gifts that weren't last minute. I left it right there beside her mimosa glass. In plain view. We got to the car, and I waited. 30 seconds. A minute. 2. She didn't notice. She was too busy texting. I pulled out of the parking lot, turned onto the main road, and then, with the fakest "oh no" I've ever mustered, said, "Crap. I left my wallet. Can you check if it's in your bag?" She froze. 1 beat. 2. Then she reached into her purse like she hadn't just been caught off guard. "Nope," she said. "Must still be on the table." I nodded, turned around, heart thudding like a bass drum. But here's what she didn't realize. I turned my phone's voice recorder on before we left the restaurant. And when I parked and said, "You wait here. I'll be quick," I left the phone in the cup holder. Still recording. I went in, got the wallet, exactly where I'd left it. Chatted with the waiter a second. Returned to the car. She was smiling. A little too brightly. "Found it." "Yup," I said. "Right where I thought." The moment we got home, I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and played the recording back. There was a 5-second silence after I walked away. Then a buzz. Then her voice. Low. Soft. Not like she talked to me. "Hey, yeah, it's fine. He left his wallet. No, he doesn't suspect anything." I paused the playback. I couldn't breathe. She didn't say a name. But she said he. Not Drew. Not my husband. Just he. Like I was a background character in her movie. Like I was furniture with a social security number. The rest of the message was quiet. A short laugh, something about later tonight, and then a pause before she whispered, "Yeah, I'll wear it." Or what? That night, I acted normal. Again. Because that's what cowards do. They perform. She sat across from me on the couch, scrolling, legs tucked under her like she wasn't planning something. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone on the coffee table and say, "Explain this." But I didn't. Because what if it wasn't what I thought? What if she was talking about something else? What if I was making myself sick over a recording that didn't even prove anything? What if I was losing my mind? So I waited. Until the next late night at the office. She left at 6:12 p.m. Said she had back-to-back Zooms and wouldn't be home until at least 10. I gave her a long kiss on the forehead. And then I followed her. But this time, I didn't just trail behind from my car. I took my brother's old Vespa, parked it 2 blocks down, wore a hoodie and a mask like some discount detective. No way she'd recognize me. And guess what? She didn't go to the office. She didn't even go anywhere near it. She drove 20 minutes north. to a residential street with big old maple trees and homes that looked like they belonged in magazine spreads. She parked. She got out. And she walked straight up to a house with a red front door. She didn't knock. She had a key. She used a key. And when that door opened from the inside, he was standing there. Clark, the night owl, the one with the Lexus, the one with the damn key to my wife. They kissed like they hadn't seen each other in years. She laughed like I hadn't heard her laugh in months. And then the door shut behind them. I stood on the sidewalk, 10 feet away, nearly trembling from how hard I had to force myself not to collapse. She had a key to his house, and now I had the key to something worse. She had made a life somewhere else, one where I didn't exist. I didn't sleep that night, not even a minute. I lay in bed alone while she was wherever she wanted to be, likely wrapped in someone else's sheets, in someone else's arms, while the pillow next to me stayed cold and untouched. But here's the thing. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even throw anything. I took inventory. That might sound ridiculous, but that's exactly what I did. I sat at the kitchen counter in my hoodie at 2:47 a.m., writing in a yellow legal pad, listing every shared account, every asset, every key. I wrote down passwords, dates, bills, whose name was on what. I noted who paid the mortgage, me, who signed the lease on the car, also me, who set up the streaming subscriptions, still me, and which ones she used more, all of them. Why? Because I needed to get something straight in my head. This woman had built a second life, and I had helped fund it. You see, once you're past the denial stage of betrayal, the most disturbing part is realizing just how logistical cheating is. It's not passion. It's planning. It's passwords. It's watching your husband take out the trash at 9 p.m. and knowing you've got exactly an hour and 45 minutes before you need to walk back in and lie to his face. And she was good at it. Too good. She came back that morning at 5:12 a.m. I was still at the counter, writing. She didn't see me at first. She quietly opened the front door, took off her shoes like she was sneaking into a sleepover, then froze when she noticed the light. We locked eyes. For the first time in weeks, she looked genuinely startled. Drew, what are you doing up? I stared at her. I didn't speak. I didn't blink. I let the silence do the talking. She looked down. Her jacket was wrinkled, hair slightly messy, lips bare. The perfume she wore was unfamiliar, sweet, but muted. Not what she wore around me. I didn't ask where she'd been. She didn't offer. She walked past me, into the hallway. I heard the bedroom door close. Then the click of the bathroom lock. She was scared. Good. That day, I didn't go to work. I called in and said I had food poisoning. And maybe I did. My body felt toxic, like every muscle was buzzing from holding in too much for too long. But instead of lying in bed, I drove to a storage unit I'd kept in my name from before we were married. Just a dusty 10 by 10 space with boxes of old college stuff and furniture I never sold. And I made a plan. Not the kind of messy, dramatic plan Reddit usually gets. Not the kind where I slash tires or crash her work Zoom. A quiet plan. A cold one. I began moving things out of the house, slowly, carefully, and without her noticing. Little stuff first. My birth certificate, passport, old letters from my mom, the backup hard drive with all our photos, and yes, I made a copy. Then I started photographing items. Furniture. Electronics. Art she claimed to have picked, but I remembered buying. I logged everything into a spreadsheet. Labeled each item with a number. Because if she wanted to build a new life behind my back, then I was going to inventory the one she thought she still had. Later that night, I acted normal. She cooked dinner for the first time in a while, spaghetti with barely any sauce, the way she likes it, and I hate it. We sat at the table together like two actors in a high school play neither of us had auditioned for. She made small talk, asked about my day. I told her I spent most of it thinking. She asked about what. I smiled. How much people can miss without even realizing it. She went quiet after that. And then she changed the subject. Fast. Back to neutral things. Weather. TV. A new cafe opening downtown. Anything but the truth. But I watched her. Closely. Because something in her body language had changed. A stiffness. A flicker of calculation. She knew. Not everything. But something. And that meant I had to move faster. Because if she was smart enough to start a secret life, she might be smart enough to sense when it's slipping through her fingers. I've learned something about liars. They're not afraid of confrontation. They're afraid of stillness. If you yell at them, they have somewhere to hide. Anger gives them permission to retreat behind defensiveness or guilt or even fake tears. But if you go quiet, if you just watch them and let them talk, that's when the cracks show. So I stayed quiet. Still. Patient. For days. I didn't ask her where she went when she ran errands. I didn't question the sudden urge to volunteer at an art walk on Thursday nights. I didn't blink when she said she wanted to go to yoga classes again, even though she hadn't touched a mat in 3 years. I just nodded. Listened. Let her believe I was back to sleepwalking through life. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. Every time she left, I took notes. Timestamps. Route patterns. How long she was gone. I used our old iPad. The one she forgot was synced to her phone through iCloud. I tracked where her texts went. I couldn't read them, but I could see the timing. When she left the house and suddenly her screen lit up 4 or 5 times in rapid succession, and then silence for an hour, I knew she was with him. Still, no names. Still no proof that could stand on its own. Until I heard them. I was in the garage, reorganizing the tools she never lets me touch, because you always leave things scattered. I wasn't doing anything with the tools. I just needed a quiet place to think. That's when I heard her voice. At first I thought she was talking to me. No, he's just being weird lately, she said. I froze. It was muffled, but close, coming from the open window of our laundry room. Her voice echoing slightly off the tile. He keeps looking at me like he knows something, she went on. Then silence. Then laughter. Soft, nervous laughter. No, I haven't told him anything. Are you kidding? I'd lose everything. That line. I'd lose everything. I stood there, staring at the rake I'd been pretending to organize, and felt like the handle had punched me in the gut. She wasn't just cheating. She was strategizing. She was weighing the risks. Talking about me like I was some dumb variable in her equation. Something to delay or avoid. Not a husband, an obstacle. Then, like some cruel twist from the universe, I heard his voice. Not clearly, just a fragment. Distant, like he was on speakerphone and moving around. But it was male. Confident. Casual. Like he belonged in that conversation. Like they'd done this 100 times before. I didn't hear much else. The dryer kicked on, ruined the rest of the audio, but it was enough. I had now officially heard them. Her and Clark. My wife and her new hobby. Plotting what parts of me could be deleted without consequence. I went back inside, calmly, like I hadn't just heard my own life being downsized. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling. She smiled when she saw me. You've been out there a while, she said. I sat down next to her, close enough to hear her breathing shift. Just organizing, I said. Clearing space. She nodded. No questions. No follow-ups. Because deep down, I think she knew what I was really clearing out wasn't the garage. That night, I opened a new account at a different bank. Moved just under the reporting threshold. The next day, I moved a little more. I started rerouting my direct deposit from work. I began separating our digital lives. Canceling, re-registering, replacing. Nothing that would trigger her attention. Just small, quiet cuts. Because I wasn't planning on confronting her anymore. I was planning an exit. A clean one. One where I'd be the one disappearing. And she'd be the one left staring at an empty kitchen table, wondering why the man who used to eat alone stopped eating at all. It was her idea to go away for the weekend. Work's been insane. I need a reset, she said, casually flipping her hair behind her shoulder while sipping from the glass of red wine I bought. She was standing in the kitchen wearing one of her soft robes, the kind she only wore when she wanted to seem approachable. Relatable. Normal. I looked up from my laptop and said, Sure, babe. Take whatever time you need. I even smiled. She looked pleased, too pleased. Like she hadn't expected that kind of easy approval. Like she'd been waiting for a fight that never came. I asked where she was thinking of going. She hesitated. Not even for half a second, but it was there. Then she said, Taylor and I talked about a winery weekend. Just us girls. She's got a discount at a spa in Laurel Valley. Probably leave Friday morning and be back Sunday night. Taylor. Convenient choice. The one friend I actually like. The one I'd never question. Except Taylor's been living in Arizona for 6 months. And I know that because she texts me. I helped her file paperwork for a remote LLC last month when she panicked over losing her job. She's not here. She's not going on any winery trip. But I pretended like I didn't know. I asked what she needed me to help with. She asked me to water the ferns, maybe pick up groceries. The usual. Then she smiled like we were partners again. That night, while she showered, I went into the spare room. I opened the notebook I'd been keeping, The physical one. No cloud backups. No chance of her finding it. Inside, I sketched out my final phase. Friday, she leaves. Saturday, transfer of the final accounts. Sunday, disconnection day. I called it that because that's what it would be the moment the line went dead. Not just metaphorically. Literally. Her name off every shared thing. Her access revoked from every login. Her keycards. Her phone plan. Her entire connection to the man she thought was too broken to fight back. I spent the next 3 days prepping in total silence. On the outside, everything looked fine. We watched a movie together Thursday night. I offered her popcorn. She leaned her head on my shoulder for 20 minutes. I didn't flinch. I even laughed at the stupid rom-com she picked. I don't know what bothered me more, that she had the audacity to fake intimacy, or that she was good at it. When Friday came, I helped load her bag into the trunk. She wore sunglasses and a navy sweater she never wears around me. The kind of outfit that's just casual enough to seem unplanned, but put together enough to impress someone new. "I'll call you when we get settled," she said, pecking my cheek. "Don't work too hard, okay?" I waved as she drove off. Then I got to work. First, I packed every personal item I cared about into 2 boxes. One for essentials, one for history. Everything else left behind. The furniture, the rugs, even the stupid live, laugh, love sign she nailed above the entryway. She could keep it. All of it. Next, I drove to my storage unit. Dropped the boxes. Opened the hidden safe I'd installed 2 weeks earlier. Inside were the printed records. Statements. Screenshots. Photo evidence. Her voice, digitally cleaned and transcribed. Her lies, organized neatly in labeled folders. If she tried to fight dirty, I'd already built the fallout shelter. By Saturday evening, my name was removed from every joint account I could legally detach from. Her gym membership? Canceled. Her streaming services? Gone. Her backup iCloud access through my email? Blocked. And the utilities? Set to switch to her name on Monday. I even changed the locks, because the house. She didn't know I had inherited it last year when my aunt passed away. My name was the only one on the deed. I let her believe we were still renting. Even paid rent from my own checking account to keep up the illusion. I had been preparing for war with a woman who thought I was too soft to recognize a battlefield. Sunday morning, I got a text. "Leaving the spa soon. Taylor says hi," smiley face. I stared at it for a long time. Then I sent a reply. "Tell Clark I said thanks for the second fork." It went delivered. Then read. Then came the typing bubble. Then nothing. I turned off my phone. I sat at the empty kitchen table, now wiped of everything that used to belong to us, and waited. Not for her to come home, but for the knock I knew was coming. Because when she realized what had happened, what I'd done, what I'd taken, what I'd preserved, she wouldn't call. She'd show up, and she'd be the one on the outside. Looking in, it started with the doorbell. Not a knock, not a polite ring. That aggressive, desperate smash of the button, over and over, like she thought if she hit it fast enough, time would rewind. I didn't answer. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of water, the blinds drawn halfway, the music playing softly, nothing sad or angry. Just instrumental jazz. Something you'd hear in a hotel lobby or dentist office. Something detached from reality. She rang it again. 5 times. Then came the banging. Drew, open the door. What is going on?" I didn't move. She banged harder. Pounded like she could break the wood down with her fists. "Why is my key not working? Where's my stuff?" I sipped the water. It tasted better than usual. Then her voice cracked. "Drew, you're scaring me." "What's happening?" Scaring her. That was rich. I walked to the front hallway, slow and calm, and peeked through the side window. She looked disheveled. Her hair was a mess, still pulled into a half-lazy bun like she hadn't even had time to fix it before driving back from Laurel Valley. No luggage. Just her purse, phone in one hand, the other now flat against the doorframe as if touching it would change the outcome. She looked confused, but not broken. Not yet. She hadn't seen the full picture. So I let her hang there, mentally scrambling, while I stepped outside through the garage and walked calmly around the block. I stood by the neighbor's fence, out of sight, and waited. She called me 3 times, then left a voicemail. I didn't answer. A 4th call. No message this time. Just silence. Then I watched her walk back to her car, pacing. She opened the trunk, rifled through it, and pulled out a man's sweatshirt. Clark's maybe. I don't know. I do know she held it for a moment like it might offer some explanation. Then she threw it back in the trunk and slammed it shut. She sat in the car for almost 10 minutes before driving off. And that's when I turned my phone back on. 2 texts came in. Noelle, where is my closet? Where is everything? What did you do? Noelle, Drew, are you okay? Please don't do anything stupid. Just call me. That one made me laugh. Because for months, I'd been stupid. Letting it all happen right in front of me. Watching her disappear a little more each week, while I told myself love was just a phase that needed patience. Turns out love isn't patient. Love pays attention. That night, I sent her an email. Not a text. Not a voicemail. An email, professional, cold, deliberate. Subject, access terminated. Body, Noelle. Per your choices and my preparations, you no longer have access to the property. Any remaining personal items are in unit number 14 at Capital Safe Storage. Lease ends next Friday. A list of contents and photographed inventory is attached. Your name has been removed from all accounts, memberships, and subscriptions. Your relationship with Clark is your business. My absence from it is now mine. Do not contact me again unless through legal representation. Drew. I didn't wait for a reply. I turned off notifications, put the phone in a drawer, and went to bed in my now echoingly quiet home. But before I slept, and I did sleep, finally, deeply, I walked past the hallway mirror. And for the first time in nearly a year, I didn't recognize the man looking back at me. Not because he looked broken, because he didn't. Because he looked like someone who had finally stopped begging to be chosen and started choosing himself. I didn't hear from her for 6 days. Not a text, not a knock, not a whisper from mutual friends. It was like she vanished, or like she finally understood what silence really felt like when it wasn't being used as a weapon, but as a door shutting behind someone who had stayed far too long. The house stayed quiet, peaceful. At first, I thought it would crush me. I expected the emptiness to echo, but it didn't. It settled. The space she used to take up, the perfume trailed down the hallway, the TV blaring while she scrolled through her phone, the occasional passive-aggressive comment about how much peanut butter I used. All of that disappeared. And in its place? Air. Clean, still, breathable air. I sat on the couch on that 6th night, holding a cup of chamomile tea, something I hadn't drunk since college, and I realized something that hit harder than any betrayal. I didn't miss her. Not the real her. Not the her who lied with a smile and scheduled love like a recurring meeting. What I missed was the version of her I'd invented to survive. The woman I imagined she still was, even after the receipts, the missed dinners, the fake tears. And once that version died, so did the ache. The next morning, I drove to a nearby lake I hadn't visited in years. No reason, no occasion. Just wanted to be somewhere where no one knew what I'd lost. I took a book, left my phone in the glove box, watched ducks fight over pieces of stale bread. An older man nodded at me from a bench and said, "Beautiful day, huh?" I said, "Yeah, finally." And I meant it. Because for once, I wasn't waiting. Not for her to call. Not for her to beg. Not for her to explain why the pasta fork had pesto on it when we didn't own pesto. I wasn't even waiting for closure. I had already given it to myself. That night, as the sun set behind the trees and bathed the lake in orange, I smiled without needing a reason. Without needing a witness. No audience. No applause. Just me. And for the first time in a very long time, that was enough. 2 months later, I adopted a dog. A 3-legged mutt from the shelter who barked too loud and loved too hard. I named him Nelson. He doesn't know anything about betrayal, or forks, or women named Noelle. But every time I walk through the door, he looks at me like I matter. That's all I ever wanted. Not a perfect life. Just an honest one. No secrets. No second forks. Just peace. And maybe, just maybe, a little space in the fridge for pesto, if I ever feel like buying it again.